Well, hello, YouTube audience. Great to be here again. I took off last week because I was traveling all week and I frankly can't do everything. So you just do what you can do. We'll start the show here in just a few minutes. Just you and me today. No guests. That's okay. I have so much to go through. And I believe that I fixed the problem with the clips so that you'll be able to hear them. I'm very hopeful that that will work. It's hard to check it, so we'll see. But kind of exciting. And let's see. I just have a bunch of stuff. There was a lot that happened over the weekend, so I'm excited about that. All right. Just getting everything organized here. How are you all doing? Yes. All right, just about a minute until we start the show. Thank you for hanging in there with me. All righty. So now I have the chat room open if you want to send me some info at some point. There we go. That's better. I'm hoping. It's fascinating. All right, welcome to the Sam Sorbo Show, the Sam Sorbo podcast on MikeOnline.com, and also the Sam Sorbo Live vodcast on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Today is Columbus Day. We'll talk a little bit about that. Kevin Sorbo, also, Shep Smith stepped down over the week, or just before the weekend, I should say. Hunter Biden also stepped down, and there is more fallout from Ellen's speech about kindness that I want to get into with you all. Before I do, though, let's talk a minute about Kevin Sorbo. The Babylon Bee had a story about Kevin Sorbo starring in an epic reboot of Salty the Singing Songbook, spelled salty with a P, because, you know, Psalms and Psalter and all of that stuff. The whole article sort of played on the silent P from that sort of stuff, and it was actually very funny. So many people sent it to me. I think I put it out on Facebook and sort of re-disseminated it because it's very funny. And you see something like that and you go, what are they, how dare they? And then you realize, oh, it's the Babylon Bee. Oh, it's satirical. It's actually just kind of funny. So you can go check that out if you want. It's up on my Facebook, the official Sam Sorbo Facebook page. And of course, today is Columbus Day. And as you are probably aware at this point, that causes a whole bunch of controversy because Columbus supposedly was this awful, awful person when actually the reverse is true. And I had Mary Graber on the show a little while ago. She just came out with a book sort of refuting Howard Zinn. And I love the fact that my computer corrects Zinn to Zinnia. But that's not what it is, Howard Zinn. In fact, I pulled up the other day because I'm going to be speaking a little bit. I'm going to touch on this coming up at the end of the month. I'll be speaking at the SPN, the State Policy Networking Conference, which is at the Broadmoor in Colorado at the end of the month. And I wanted to touch on this briefly because what Howard Zinn did when he penned it's a history textbook that is now in like so many high schools across the country, but not just that it has gone across the country, more than 2 million copies sold apparently. But its thoughts, it's the premises that it assumes, faulty premises, by the way, and faulty facts and made up facts, frankly, have now pervaded our culture, have pervaded most, I would say, of the history textbooks that are in our classrooms. And so, this idea that you have that, well, we really shouldn't celebrate Columbus Day because he was anti-Native American, he was a violent individual, he did horrible, horrible things. Well, here's the thing, folks. The left wants to sell you on this idea that everything breaks down into, forgive me, black and white, good and evil, and that there is no such thing as in between. All evidence to the contrary. So while Columbus may have had his faults, the faults to which the faults that they ascribe him are incorrect. For instance, in the book that Howard Zinn wrote, he said that Columbus had written that it would be great to enslave the native populations of the Americas, the ones that he came across when he discovered this land. What Howard Zinn did was take those quotes completely out of context and lop off the other half of them. So in the quote, I believe it says something like, it would be so easy to submit these people to slavery because they're very easygoing. And then he writes, but it would be better to expose them to the gospel and teach them the value of human life such that they would never become subjugated. But Howard Zinn just throws all of that stuff away and just wants people to know or think that Columbus was a horrible, horrible person who promoted slavery, believed in and wanted slavery for people. I mean, it's absurd. So all that to say, happy Columbus Day. I'm so thrilled that we, in some areas, still celebrate one of the people who helped found this side of the world, and in that way helped freedom ring throughout the world. God bless him. And I was going to say on Twitter, somebody tweeted that the DC Council had now ruled something about that Columbus Day should no longer be a holiday or something. And they tweeted, well, thank goodness they're doing something constructive with their time instead of like wasting their time, like figuring out how to fix the roads or do infrastructure maintenance on bridges or things like that. Because now this is something that was imperative that we determine. Okay, so moving on. Shep Smith has stepped down, and President Trump is mocking him, which, of course, it sort of goes with the territory. He responded on Friday to the announcement by the Fox News anchor that he was going to be leaving the cable news network, and he mocked his ratings. He said, is he leaving because of bad ratings? Tell me, I don't know. I heard terrible things. If he's leaving, I assume he's leaving because of bad ratings. But Shep Smith did not give a reason for why he was leaving Fox News during a statement he made on Friday at the end of his last news broadcast. He only said that he asked to leave the network and that he would not be going to another news network, at least for a while. I imagine he's got some sort of non-compete clause that's in place. And the president said, oh, is he leaving? That's a shame. He had the worst ratings on Fox, so there's a reason. Why is Shep leaving? Well, I wish him well, he said. He also wished Bernie Sanders well. He said, I wish him a speedy recovery. That's probably the nicest thing that I will ever say about him. It's like he proffers it and then he snatches it away. He's like Lucy with the football a little bit with his compliments. Only in the instances where he doesn't really mean them. Only in the instances where he doesn't like the person. You can say this about the president. He he is genuine. He doesn't pretend a whole lot. Although there are a lot of people who believe he pretends. But so Shep Smith is stepping down. We still don't quite know the reason. I've seen some articles about how that could be a bad thing. I'd gotten kind of tired of some of the stuff that he was pushing on Fox News, so I'm not sad. I'd love to see. I'm excited to see sort of further developments. But there are so many other competing places to get your news now. I've just become a subscriber to Epoch Times, EPOCH Times. They actually deliver a paper to the door, and they also deliver via email. And I really enjoy a lot of the articles. I've never been a paper reader. It gets your fingers dirty. It sort of bugs me that way. But I will say that when I sit down with the Epoch Times, I can't get through the whole thing because every article is so interesting. So you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay. Hunter Biden is stepping down. Now, this is interesting. So I'm sure you remember, because of all the stuff that's coming out about Ukraine and how they're trying to twist the Ukraine story around back at Trump. And it's interesting because they instigated the story. So you would think that they might be smart enough to not have done that. But it worked so well with Russia. So the Russia story, if we unpack this just a little bit, the Russia story began right after the election. They started saying, well, obviously, Trump worked with Russia to get elected because otherwise there's no way he could have gotten elected, right? But, and I immediately said, what? That makes no sense. First of all, Russia doesn't want Trump elected. They'd much rather have Hillary in the office. Two, they've been in cahoots with the current administration for a very long time. So why are they all of a sudden now the enemy? Hillary Clinton went over there and gave them the reset button. That was supposed to have worked. Like, we were totally reset with Russia and we were all frenzy with Russia, according to Hillary Clinton. And then there was the time when Obama leaned over to Medvedev, the president of Russia, and said, tell Putin I'll have more flexibility after the election. And he said that. It's there. It's on tape. He can joke about it all he wants later, but he never actually explained what he meant. He just joked about it. So you've got the president of the United States playing footsies, let's just say playing footsies with Russia. You've got Hillary playing friendship necklaces with Russia. And then you also have, but we didn't find this out until later, but you do have the report that Russia was meddling in the election to Obama, who said, leave it alone. It'll be fine. Boy, did he get the shock of a lifetime because Hillary didn't get elected. So if they were meddling in the elections, they were most assuredly meddling on behalf of Hillary. And, oh, by the way, I left out number 3. So the first was Obama playing footsie. The second was Hillary exchanging friendship necklaces. And the third was this idea that that Hillary approved the sale of 20% of American uranium to the Russians. And then they got a huge fee for Bill Clinton speaking over in Russia. That's 3. So there's all this quid pro quo. There's all this back and forth between the Obama administration, let's just say, the Democrat Party, and the Russians. And then all of a sudden, after the Democrats lost the election, well, two things of import happened. The first one was they started blaming Russia for tampering with the election, and saying that resulted in Trump getting elected, which made no sense. And I said it at the time. I'm like, that makes no sense. That's just silly. I was incredulous. I was like, nobody's going to buy that. That's ridiculous. And yet the mainstream media, the lamestream media, and here's the thing. They are willing, Literally, like they have no scruples. They are willing to promote whatever lie and say that they believe it outright. Oh yeah, no, that's yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's uncanny. So anyway, they started that. The second thing that happened that I thought was really fascinating that very few people remarked on at the time was that if you recall, prior to Hillary Clinton accepting the job as Secretary of State, the Obama administration told her, hey, you are really going to have to close. I think they wanted her to close the Clinton Foundation. And she said, oh, gee, boys, I would love to, but I can't do it. It's too important. Our work, what we're doing at the Clinton Foundation on behalf of global peace and prosperity for peoples and just speaking into like everything that we're doing at the Clinton Global Initiative or Clinton Global Foundation, whatever, is so important. I can't close it down. But I promise you, I will keep arm's length, so it'll be fine. There won't be a single problem. And the Obama administration said, okay. Like they just shrugged and said, well, we tried. Like our conscience is clear because we asked. But she said she couldn't. So it's fine now. We'll just move on. Well, guess what happened right after President Trump won the election? They shut down the foundation. I find that highly, highly suspicious. I still haven't been able to parse it out. Why did they shut down the foundation? It was so important they had to keep it open while she was serving as Secretary of State. But when she was no longer going to be involved in the government in any real capacity, like they kept it open while she was running for office, but the moment that she lost her chance at the highest office in the land, they shut it down. I think that should be investigated. I'm just saying. So now, fast forward to current day. Hunter Biden flew with his dad on Air Force Two to China and struck a deal with the Chinese that gleaned $1.5 billion into the coffers of a company, of an investment firm that Hunter Biden had founded. I believe he was one of the founders of the investment firm. And that didn't raise any eyebrows, like everybody. And at the same time, what did we get for, and this is a question that we really ought to ask, what did we get for, in return, basically, for Joe Biden's trip to China? Like, okay, it's all well and good. His son tags along and gets a really lucrative deal out of it. That was a good trip. Like sometimes you go, oh, should I go with that or should I not go with that? It's a long trip on an airplane, China, who really? And then you go, you know what? I'll just go just to see. And then you come back with $1.5 billion. Okay, that was time well spent. Especially because you don't really have very much to recommend you for being the recipient of so much cash. Like what? But that's an aside. What was Joe doing there? He was supposed to be negotiating on behalf of the United States, but that didn't really happen. He didn't really do anything. He wasn't very successful at all. In fact, Donald Trump is busy cleaning up that mess right now. I've seen reports that we've struck a very good deal with China, part of the deal, not the whole deal, but something. We've come to some agreements, and this is good for American farmers. I've seen that. But what did Joe do? Okay, so we don't have an answer for that. What we do know is he did very little because there isn't a good answer for, well, this is what we got out of the deal. Hunter got $1.5 billion. So, okay, you know what? Whatever. No, that didn't happen. So now, well, our attention is drawn back to Hunter because we didn't get anything out of that deal. So then why did Hunter make off like a bandit and the American people not so much? Then you start to go, well, maybe there was some quid pro quo, which is Latin for tit for tat, which frankly, I don't understand why we don't just say tit for tat. Hunter Biden, after months of keeping a relatively low profile, because he's been in the news a lot and we haven't seen anything from him. But over the weekend and just before the weekend, President Trump went and did a couple of rallies. And at one of the rallies, President Trump leveled a barrage of accusations of corruption at Hunter Biden. Now, these accusations are reported in the mainstream media. This is an article up on MSN.com. It says that they were unsubstantiated, but they were absolutely substantiated. The accusations are he went to China and he came back with $1.5 billion. And he didn't really have any credits to his name to warrant such an investment. And he flew in on Air Force Two. Like the idea that two things can be separated is betrayed by the fact that he flew there with his dad. If he wanted to keep the two things separate, if he wanted people to be able to say, no, there's absolutely no correlation, then fly there on your own dime. Get on it. Not that really would have dispelled this idea that there's a quid pro quo, but seriously, it's like this idea that we were sold, that none of us bought, that when Bill Clinton met Loretta Lynch on the tarmac, that had nothing to do with the ongoing investigation of his wife. I mean, it strains credulity. So here's where it sort of goes off the rails, because now Hunter Biden is saying that he will avoid any conflict of interest by stepping down from the Chinese board. And I've seen tweets about this too, and I've tweeted about it. Why? If there is no conflict of interest, if there never was a conflict of interest, if there is no quid pro quo, if there is nothing untoward that happened, why are you running now? So I think that there was just an enormous misstep. I think that the American people are going to look at this and go, I don't know. According to a statement released on his behalf by his lawyer, George Mesiris, Biden said he'll resign at the end of the month from the management company of a private equity fund that's backed by Chinese state-owned entities. He also pledged that he wouldn't work for any foreign-owned companies or serve on their boards during a potential Biden administration. He reiterated that he never discussed his business activities with his father. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that somebody released a photo, found an old photo of Hunter, Joe, and a Burisma executive. Burisma was the Ukrainian company that Hunter Biden was consulting for or doing whatever, and working on their board or whatever. So they released this photograph, and Trump trolled them in a brilliant fashion by playing that Nickelback song. Look at this photograph. Every time it does, it makes me laugh. And then it says something like, what's that thing on Joey's head? It's just so funny because on the photograph, they drew little hearts on Joe and Hunter and the Burisma executive. So you're telling me that these guys golfed together for 5.5 hours and never talked business? that Joe never overheard a business conversation between two gentlemen who sit on the same board and the vice president of the United States. Come on. Come on. And I think that's Trump's point. So he released that. That put some pressure on. By the way, Nickelback sort of walked away or stepped back from the whole thing and said, we never approved him to use our song. How dare he, or whatever. And so I'm calling on Nickelback because they got a huge hit on the song. Like, I can't remember, but thousands and thousands of downloads from the re-exposure to that song. I'm calling on them to give all that money back to the Trump campaign, because clearly it was basically as if they were taking money from the Trump campaign by accepting all of that money. I'm just saying. Stick by your principles. If you got money in the wrong way, right? Isn't that what everybody calls for right away? Like, you took money from Harvey Weinstein, give it back. You took money from I don't know who, give it back, right? I'm just saying. If they feel that way, they should give it back. Hunter always understood that his father would be guided entirely and unequivocally by established U.S. policy, regardless of its effects on Hunter's professional interests. He never anticipated the barrage of false charges against both him and his father by the President of the United States. Yeah, he never anticipated that. No, I'm sure that's true. Although the charges are not entirely false. In fact, I don't know that you can prove that any of them are false. So, Hunter Biden, now stepping down. Fascinating. Good for him. Don't know that it's going to change much because it doesn't look good. All right, this is the Sam Sorbo Show. I've got to take a quick break, but I'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. And if you want to share the show with your friends, tell them I'm podcasting over at miconline.com so they can download the podcast there. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. I am going to get back into a little bit more on Hunter Biden because MSNBC actually said on Meet the Press, we cannot in good conscience show it to you. They were refusing airing part of the Trump rally where Trump took Hunter Biden apart a little bit. I'm going to play a little bit of it here. So he continued with this sort of diatribe. It's very funny. At some point, he turns away. The audience cheers so mightily that he literally sort of walks away from the podium and just turns around and talks to people, like just turns around and waits for the reaction to die down from the audience. I just want to pick a little bit more. Just listen to this. That's him. He's just walking around because they're enjoying him pulling Hunter Biden apart. The $1.5 billion. It's a good point that he raises. So MSNBC refused to air it. Chuck Todd. He announced that he could not, in good conscience, show parts of the rally because the president dared to criticize Hunter Biden. How dare he criticize Hunter Biden? Mind you, Melania Trump, Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Jr., none of them are above criticism. You have as many swipes as you want. Dirty swipes, potentially justified swipes, whatever you want to say about them is perfectly reasonable. But don't criticize Joe Biden's son. Don't even talk about him. Meet the Press promoted this monologue by Todd where he explained the network's reasoning. Trump held a campaign rally in Minnesota last night, he said. There are parts of it we can't show you. Or rather, there are parts of it that we're not gonna show you. He went on to slam President Trump for the tone of his language. It's like sticks and stones, dude. Saying the president consistently spews red meat vitriol, but said by daring to bring up Hunter Biden, the president took it too far. And here's what's funny. It's always too far for them. Everything is too far. Todd argued, the president went further than he's ever gone before. So we are going further than we've ever gone before. That's actually not true. You've gone this far before. You just haven't been vocal about it. You've been busy censoring for years and years now. You've just decided to get vocal about it because at some point you're not going to be able to hide. And so I love the trail on Twitter because there's so many tweets saying that's okay. We'll promote it ourselves. But the question is, how do we reach those people who have tuned out? Because there are people who have finally just tuned out. They don't like what's happening in the lamestream media, and they also don't like what's happening on the right wing because they see it as just as bad, if not worse. If not worse, right? So Todd said we're going farther than we've ever gone before to say we aren't going to play the sound. We aren't going to repeat the president's vicious attacks on Hunter Biden, which under any other circumstances, it would be news. And it would be something to explore and either confirm or deny, confirm or refute. But here we have Chuck Todd, who is one of the leading anchors on, arguably a failing TV channel network, but one of America's leading authoritarians of the news, saying he is refusing to cover a story. That is highly suspicious. Does that make sense? In his denial of covering the story, his denial of playing the sound bites, he's just denying that there is a story without refuting it. Notice he doesn't refute any of the charges. And some of the charges are actually absolutely accurate. Has anybody ever gone to China and come back with $1.5 billion? I don't know. I don't think so. If they did, there was a lot more reason for them to have done so. Certainly not a newbie like Hunter Biden. He goes on, the President of the United States stood in front of a crowd of supporters and character assassinated a man. Oh, as if that's not anything that the press has ever engaged in before. They're all above that. Jennifer Flowers, Monica Lewinsky. But they're above character assassination. Mike Flynn, General Petraeus. I can think of a number of names that they character assassinated without doing the research, without doing any kind of, they just started firing. Whatever you might think of his decisions, he's not a public figure, he isn't running for office, and he's not a campaign surrogate. He is, however, Joe Biden's son, and he traveled on Air Force Two. Period. He traveled on Air Force Two. Therefore, he is not beyond scrutiny. Because nobody who travels on Air Force Two should be beyond scrutiny. Just like the guy who had been driving Dianne Feinstein all those years was a Chinese spy. Should not be beyond scrutiny. She was being driven, chauffeured around daily by a Chinese spy who could hear all of her conversations that she was having inside the car. Are we supposed to just give that a pass and say, oh, well, you know, that's none of our business because he's just a chauffeur? How about that? Todd continues, he's not even on the campaign trail and he isn't in any way asking for this attention, obviously. No, of course he doesn't want the attention. He's a bad guy. Todd was defending Hunter Biden, a grown man who's been accused of using the favor of his father's former position as vice president to score lucrative foreign business contracts. Does anybody really doubt that that's exactly what happened? The question is, what did the U.S. pay for Hunter Biden's, for his deals? What did we pay? What did you pay? What did I pay? That's the question. Todd continued, we can't in good conscience amplify those attacks, so we won't. We will simply tell you that it happened and it seemed to cross a line, another line. Politics ain't beanbag, but it isn't supposed to be this either. We all need to play a role in not rewarding this kind of politics. Not just the press. This is the job of anyone who has sworn an oath to defend the Constitution. So in his statement, Chuck Todd actually invites the left to radicalize further in their adherence to a script rather than to the truth. Because nowhere in here does he refute anything. Nothing. He just basically says, none of this is true. This is the media equivalent of, you're a liar, and walking away. By the way, if you want to see that on YouTube, you can go over to my live YouTube page and see it. It was not pretty. All right, I get a little bit upset about these kinds of things because it bothers me that people so willingly believe the lie. But you know what they do? They do. That's life. That's the way people are. All right, combat flip-flops. They are creating peaceful, forward-thinking opportunities for self-determined entrepreneurs who have been affected by conflict. It's brilliant, actually, what they're doing, because they are starting companies in areas where people can benefit from the capitalist system and sort of mentoring people into capitalism and offering them basically a way out of the life that they that they've known before, the subservient life, I suppose you could say, that they've known before. They are asking all of us to join the unarmed forces. So by the way, if you've given any thought to Christmas this year, think about flip-flops for Christmas. What a lovely idea. Go to combatflipflops.com. Combatflipflops.com. They've grown from just an idea to a globally recognized brand with a mission to create lasting change through their idea, their mantra of business, not bullets. They're trying to flip the view on how wars are won. Go to combatflipflops.com and also use my promo code SAM25 at checkout. You'll save 25%. SAM25 at checkout at combatflipflops.com. Look them up. Give them a try today. And they make great gifts too. So yay. All right. Where are we going from here? There's so much. I really camped on Hunter Biden. Well, he bugs me. Nepotism. All right. Unhinged. There are some people who are getting really unhinged. This story is amazing, and I do have the audio for it. So this is a woman on a board of trustees that was meeting in the village of Oak Park, Illinois. But it took an ugly turn on Monday night when an elected official went on a tirade against several of her colleagues for daring to give input on updates to the town's equity, diversity, and inclusion statement. The trustee's name is Susan Buchanan. She just came unglued when Dan Maroney suggested defining what it means to break down systems of oppression as part of the language in the new proposed version of Oak Park's diversity statement. He used the example that the local police department had recently been accused by some in the community of being a, quote, system of oppression, and he would therefore, quote, hesitate to send the message to the police department that they are a system of oppression, noting it was important to define such terms because someone in the local newspaper had recently said racial equity could be achieved via wealth distribution through socialist policies. Well, this is not something, we need to define our terms. That's all he was saying. And she just lit into him. By the way, she's white. She's totally white. But she is female. So she knows. She knows what it is to be oppressed. But a black female would look at her and go, you, girl, you shut up. You don't know what it's to be oppressed. You're white. Interesting, right? This is the victimhood Olympics. But wait, it gets better. I'm feeling pretty oppressed right now. You telling me to shut up and all. You telling me that my opinion has no validity. You telling me that I am worthless. That's making me feel pretty oppressed. I'm surprised that nobody brought that up. Like right now, you're oppressing me. But here's the thing. If they had said it, the audience probably would have applauded. Yes, oppress them. They should be oppressed. Then they know what it feels like. This is the problem with the victimhood Olympics, is you get into this quid pro quo, this idea that because you are now elevated because you were supposedly oppressed, now in that elevated position, you should have the authority to oppress others. This is very dangerous, especially because these people, no. Sorry, we'll continue because it just keeps getting better. There you go. So the mayor, she turned to the white guy who had basically started it by saying, I don't think socialism is the way to go here, more or less. She shut him down, or tried to, and then she brought the mayor into it and said, you stop. You're a white male. Your skin is light enough. He's Pakistani. Your skin is light enough. You qualify to be oppressed by me. I get to oppress you. Reminds me of, who's that chick? What's her name? Cami Cortez. Reminds me of her when she said, how about this? How about I'm the boss? Oh yeah, she'd like to be the boss. This woman wants to run the whole show, and then she will tell you what cell block you get. That's what this is. She even turned her ire to Mayor Anan Abu Taleb, a Palestinian immigrant. Your skin is light enough, stop it. So apparently a Palestinian immigrant has never experienced oppression. Where is Hamas? I'm just kidding. I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay. Atrantil has a crazy name, but they do deliver incredible results. If you suffer from a little bit of gut, like bloating after you eat or other kinds of gut issues, try Atrantil. It's all natural, developed by a board-certified gastroenterologist, and it's proven to deliver relief from bloating and symptoms related to IBS in 4 out of 5 people. More than 4 out of 5 people, actually. It's made from polyphenols, which is they're basically postbiotics. So they're not quite probiotics, and they certainly aren't antibiotics. They're postbiotics. They just help with your digestion. They help with your overall gut health. They also are really good for limiting inflammation. So try Atrantil today. You go to lovemytummy.com/mojo, lovemytummy.com/mojo, and you save over $20 on your first 3 boxes. That's Atrantil at lovemytummy.com/mojo. Save some money. Try it today. Call me later. Let me know how it goes. All right. So I just want to cover this because it's kind of funny. We're getting into this whole oppression Olympics. A black trans woman went off at a CNN town hall that they had for the LGBTQ. And really fascinating. She said that you've erased black trans people for the last time. It's interesting because it's like these people, they're so oppressed, they feel so victimized by whatever system they're imagining there is, that even when they're in an environment of people who embrace them and support them and want the best for them, they cannot accept it. All they hear is more oppression. And it's pretty obvious. So there's a gal who's asking questions. She's actually the mother of a young trans person. Looks like a girl dressed as a boy. So I guess a trans female. She's the mother of a trans. Okay. I'm trying to be sensitive and also descriptive. There, it says it right there. Mother of a transgender son. So they're still calling him a boy, but it sounds like, anyway, transgender son. Oh, maybe it is the girl, but they're calling it a son, and I'm just not up to speed on everything. So she's standing there with a microphone, thanking them for having the forum and saying something, I can't remember what. It doesn't matter. And then this woman, this trans female who comes in, grabs the mic from her. Like, it's kind of rude, and grabs the mic. Let me see if I can actually play that part of the audio. Listen. So she's speaking out on behalf of black trans women. There you go. Okay, so this is Blossom. She ran over, she grabbed the mic, and now she's berating CNN for erasing black trans women. Now, mind you, you've got, they're literally having this forum for this to highlight this purpose So you got to wonder. And they were talking with the presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke, of course. You know what? I'm just going to play a little bit more. Listen to this. She's extraordinary. You just have to take her word for it. Well, she is extraordinary because she ran forward, took the mic, and just went for it to say her piece. But it's kind of weird. They're in a forum that has been devised just for her to say, but she's really upset that this, like, it makes, literally, it's like crazy because it makes no sense. It's like somebody threw you a birthday party and you go to the birthday party and you say, you never throw me birthday parties. Why are you not, you just never, it's like you don't even know I exist. In front of all the friends that they've invited, all of your friends that they invited. What's crazy is everybody's applauding her. The whole thing is just wacko because she's railing against the very thing that they are not do. How do I put this? Like, it's so crazy I can't even express it. But I thought my analogy about the birthday party was pretty good. Okay, so this is great actually because so Don Lemon, who I believe is out as a gay man. I'm not sure. Yeah. He was accused of sexual harassment actually a couple months back in the Hamptons. Really lascivious behavior, according to allegedly. In any case, he handled it very well. I got to give him props because he was like, ma'am, let me talk to you. Yeah, what's your name? Like, he totally drew her out. So this is fascinating. Google me, please Google me, she says. This is what we're doing, but you seem to be really upset that we're not doing exactly what we're doing. I'm sorry. And the audience, I don't know. I don't get the audience. They're just like, okay. I think that they're so stuck in this weird fantasy land that they're cool with. I had somebody say to me that, and she visibly was shaking. She was shacking up with a black guy. She was a white girl. It doesn't matter. She was a white girl shacking up with a black guy. And she was visibly shaking because of the tremendous racism in New York. Mind you, she lived in New York, where I suppose it's more racist in New York than it is in the South. At least that's my experience. But anyway, she was visibly like shaking, anxious, because she never knew if he was going to make it home that night because of all the racism and violence against black people in the United States that she personally experienced. Except that she's never experienced it. I said, oh, does he have brushes with death often? No. It's in their heads, but they've been brainwashed to think this way. So she's upset that no other black trans people have taken the mic tonight. She's furious that no other black trans people have taken the mic. And yet, when she took the mic, you heard her say, Google me. Like, Google me. And she's appeared on Ellen. She has appeared on the Caitlyn show, Caitlyn Jenner. She's obviously working on gleaning some notoriety. She wants to, she'd do a book or whatever, right? So she's into self-promotion. If they had taken the mic, she wouldn't have had the opportunity to rail against everything. Now Don Lemon's going to give her the mic back. Look at this. He's going to hand her the mic back. Not black trans, like it has to be a specific, do they have to be a certain height? Should they be a certain weight? Like how specific should we be about exactly the type of person that you want to hear from? This is the problem with the left, is as they seek to divide us into smaller and smaller victim groups, right? So she believes that you have to be black and trans and a trans female, although she's willing to accept a black trans male, right? That's the voice that she has to hear. We've had it from Rashida Tlaib, who said, hey, we're only interested in black voices. You just heard it from the city council member. And by the way, these people are ascending into the halls of power within our communities and our society in general. And we need to be on the look. We need to be more vigilant, and we need to figure out how to combat this, because this is dangerous stuff. And Don Lemon, he goes through and he says, look, you've had the floor, you had the mic, like mission accomplished, chick. I was going to say dude, but that would be mean because it's a black trans female. I'm just saying, he's trying to point it out. And yet I think the audience is still kind of upset. This is exactly what we're doing. So what are you complaining about? All right. Before I go, listen, you can go anywhere, you know that, to shop for CBD oils. But you won't get a better deal than on mojo50.com/shop. mojo50.com/shop. We carry the CBD oils. They are clinically tested, physician endorsed, and they are the best price per milligram for your clean, full spectrum CBD oils. I use CBD oils. They help me to sleep. They also help with aches and pains and seizures and inflammation, and they're just really helpful. So try them today. Go to mojo50.com/shop. That's mojo50.com/shop. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me at mikeonline.com as well as on YouTube Live. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.